Hello and welcome to the Olfactive Melbourne podcast. I'm your host, Trent Stokes.
And I'm Robin Stokes. We're a husband and wife team passionate about perfume, and we're on a journey to better understand and explore the art of perfumery. We're coming to you today from Melbourne, Australia, and we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're recording. They are the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to the elders, past and present, and we extend that same respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are listening to the recording today.
On this show, we interview Australia's premier niche, artisanal and indie perfume brands. From the founders to the perfumers and on to the creatives who take us on a guided journey through a fragrance that best represents their brand. The show is wrapped around a masterclass in which we invite our guests to take us through each stage of the opening, the heart, and the base. The show unfolds in real time, meaning that there is time in between the opening and the heart and the base. And this is known as the dry down. During the dry down, we take the opportunity to deep dive into the perfumer's journey, their brand, their mission, their vision, their values, along with getting a better understanding of some of the technical terms in perfumery, along with how to identify individual notes and accords so that we can more deeply connect with perfumery, and also so that we can better identify the notes that we like and dislike. This allows us to make more informed decisions about the fragrances that we connect with and that we ultimately wear. The show is designed to be both educational and entertaining. So if you like what we do, please like and subscribe and make sure to sit back, relax and enjoy the show. The Olfactive Melbourne podcast is proudly sponsored by Watchvault, Australia's premier destination for luxury and vintage timepieces. Each watch is trusted, verified and ready for its next chapter. Visit watchvault.com.au to discover your next timeless investment.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Olfactive Melbourne podcast. Today we're joined by Purvi Joshi, who is the founder of PEOSYM. PEOSYM is an Australian brand which stands for Personal Expression of Stories, Yearning and Memories. Welcome to the show, Purvi.
Thank you for having me.
So just to kick off the show, it'd be wonderful if you could tell us a little bit about how long has PEOSYM been around and where are you based?
So we launched in February 2022. So it's over 3 years, nearly 4 years now. And we're based in Sydney.
And tell us a little bit about PEOSYM, the identity of it. Can you share a little bit about what it means to you?
So initially, it didn't actually start as a brand. It was more of a personal project that I was chasing. Wanted to create something in memory of my mother. Perfume felt like the right product after a lot of thinking. And initially, the idea was to just create a small badge that I can share with friends and family. And the whole need to create even that like a badge was because if you try and do it too small, I wasn't getting as a customized thing as I wanted. So I was all settled for a small batch, and then COVID happened. And the whole production channel, the way the fragrance houses operated, everything changed before my thing could go into a production mode. And it became a situation where I had to decide whether this is going to be a full-scale brand or I just give it up. And by then, I was too emotionally invested in the project to give it up and thought, even if it's just one fragrance, I'll make it a brand. If it works, it's meant to be. If it doesn't, that's what's meant to be. And that's how it started. So from the very beginning, it was very much about sharing a personal sentiment. And at that time, I think the dupes were also pretty much on rise, like a big thing, creating a lot of hype. And that is one thing I was sure I didn't want to do. So I kept telling myself that this has to be authentic. But how do you make anything authentic? There's no I'm don't have a perfumer's background or anything fragrance related background, to be honest. So I thought that if I'm just being honest to myself, if I'm just being authentic to myself, then it has to be unique by default, because nature has created all of us so differently. And that's what I decided, that just like any form of art, like painting, music, where you do it yourself and you put a little bit of yourself into what you're creating, it becomes a form of art that is unique and original. Even if it's inspired by something else, it will still be authentic because you are doing it from your own perspective. And while searching for a name, when nothing was working out, I was just writing down this idea that what kind of art form I'm chasing. And that was the personal expression of this things. And that eventually became the name as well, because I couldn't find any other word that was suitable, not taken already. So
That's
yeah,
wonderful.
that's
It's so unique. It is so unique. And
Yeah.
honestly, this is what we like to see on this show is unique fragrances.
thank you.
Rather than just twists on existing fragrances that might be out there. And we have experienced your range before. We actually met you a lot earlier this
Yes.
year at the Geelong Fragrance Festival, and we sort of fell in love with the brand straight away, didn't we? We thought it was just absolutely wonderful, very, very unique. And that's what we want to see on the show, is these unique fragrances. Now, I believe you've brought a unique fragrance on with you today. So obviously the show is wrapped around a masterclass, and you have selected a fragrance for this masterclass. So tell us, what have you selected today, and why have you selected that particular fragrance to showcase?
So I have selected Gullal, which is our newest fragrance, not launched on this day when we're talking. Hopefully by the time the podcast is published, it will be. I selected Gullal because with each new fragrance, we are learning new things. We are refining what we do even more. And Gullal represents our best effort to date. So that's why I wanted to share it.
I'm pretty excited about the best effort to date, because already what we have smelt, you've set the benchmark pretty high here. So it's going to be an exciting episode. So what we'll do is let's spray the fragrance out. Robin will do some spraying, and let's get it onto our skin. While we are doing some spraying, what we're going to be experiencing here is our opening impressions, or our opening notes. And so just to explain to those people who may be a little bit new to perfumery what an opening note is, when we think about perfumery, it is often structured in a traditional perfume pyramid. So what we mean by the perfume pyramid is up the very top of this pyramid, we have our opening notes. Opening notes are made up of the lightest and most volatile of the fragrance molecules. All that means is that those notes, they're light, so they surface to the fragrance first, but they're also the most volatile, so they dissipate the fastest, making way for the next layer below in that perfume pyramid, which are the heart notes. Below the heart notes, we have our base notes, which form the widest part of that pyramid, and that is the way a traditional perfume structure is. However, not all perfumes follow that particular structure. And certainly as we get into modern perfumery, we do find that a lot of brands are breaking the pyramid. So with all of that said, let's have a little sniff and get our first impressions, and then you can take us through the notes that we're smelling. Oh, beautiful. Lovely and fresh.
Yeah, very fresh at first sniff. Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you. So what you're smelling is definitely grapefruit, pink pepper. And the salt is more of a mineral accord, actually. And the reason why we decided to describe this particular mineral accord as salt is because it's not very marine-like. When you say just mineral accord, it is very much open to interpretation. Like, it can be anything. But this particular mineral accord gives the effect of like when you have that pink grapefruit and you put some salt on it, and that acidity becomes a little softer. That is the kind of mineral accord here. And if I'm being even more specific, the salt is more like the Himalayan pink salt. I didn't want to write like pink pepper and then pink salt and the whole fragrance starts sounding like it's a very pink fragrance, which it is not. So we decided to write just salt. But this is why notes are not ingredients. Notes are more of descriptors about what you're going to smell. And here, what we have tried to create is the feeling of that fresh grapefruit when it just sliced and you sprinkle some salt on it. And it feels juicy, bitter, sweet, sour, fruity all at the same time. And like most citruses, grapefruit also have that very gentle floral nuance to it. So what you're smelling here is not just the top notes, but it's also backed by dry woods in the base note and also orris in the middle note. Like you described it perfectly, that top notes are called top notes because they will come out first and then they will disappear first as well. But without those base notes, those top notes would smell a lot more citrusy, a lot sharper, versus what is there in the background is already softening it a little bit, making it more of that mouth-watering juicy fruit versus something that just like hits your nose and directly your head.
I think that's just such a great description of what I am smelling here. It's juicy and fruity, not that sharp, citrus.
Yes.
I think we've had a little bit of exposure to pink pepper before, and so we know that the pink pepper can add a bit of sparkle. Certainly getting
pop.
a bit of pop there. And I think really sort of laying it out that's salt accord is not a marine note. It really helps describe that salt on the grapefruit piece. Because otherwise you could be carried away with that description that, it's a marine type fragrance. It's not. It's a juicy, fresh, but not sharp opening. It's really beautiful.
It's very delightful. Yeah.
And the pink pepper was very intentional as well. It adds, like you said, a sparkle, like a sense of freshness, but it also has a very visual effect on you. Like it smells so different from black pepper. Like when you smell pink pepper, you are thinking of that softer pink color, which also adds another aspect to grapefruit, that instead of becoming that sharper citrusy grapefruit, it makes it more into that pink grapefruit, which is like bitter and gentler and slightly sweeter as well.
Yeah, definitely pink grapefruit. You definitely get this, don't you? I've got to say, we're obviously here in Melbourne. It is a glorious day outside, beautiful and sunny. I actually couldn't think of a better fragrance to bring today to experience in this type of weather. I guess with these type of fragrances, they can feel like they're just ideal for summer. They're ideal for the heat, but obviously we haven't got all the way through the dry down here. So I don't want to make some assumptions here as to where this fragrance is going. But in terms of seasonality, how would you describe sort of the best use of this particular fragrance?
It is a very calming, fresh, almost thirst-quenching kind of fragrance. When we let people experience it at the Beauty Expo without telling them what's in there, what's the name or anything, a lot of them described it as like a forest atmosphere or forest floor. So I do agree with you that it is a spring, summer suitable fragrance, but I would say it's also an all-season, almost those skin scent kind of thing, where skin scents can be little too, I don't want to say plain or ordinary, but they can be little too simple. This is like just nuanced enough to wear on any day, every day, layer with something, whatever you like.
Fantastic. Versatile, like absolutely ideal for the heat, for summer, for spring, maybe going into autumn. But you can wear it all year round if you just want to smell nice.
Yeah, it's just like after shower spritz kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. I would, I can picture that immediately and feeling very, very good from that bright, beautiful top of the fragrance.
I've got to say, this has got some projection here. Like that's my hands there. It's glistening on my skin, which obviously it's quite a lot of perfume oil in here, and it is projecting. I'm sure it's absolutely filling the room, which is great. This is what we love to see out of great quality perfume.
And the concentration also plays a part, that because with gentler notes, you want to give them a little more body to grab onto that body heat and create a little more cloud around you. Concentration doesn't always predict projection and sillage, but it does affect, how it's going to smell, how much it will project.
This is a really interesting point that you've just touched on here, because I think a lot of people are under the impression that the higher the concentration of perfume oil that's in a fragrance, the more it's going to project and the longer it's going to last. But that's not quite the full story, is it?
No, that's not how always it will go. And think of it this way: ethanol is what makes it evaporate faster, and that's why you can smell an ethanol-based fragrance versus completely oil-based something. Because when you used oil-based fragrances, you kind of have to smell it closer to your skin. That's why your body moisturizer not gonna project like your ethanol-based fragrances do. So that's the job of ethanol in your fragrance. And the fragrance oil part is obviously what gives it the fragrance part. And the more fragrance you add, the more potent it becomes. But when you decrease the ethanol too much, it's going to stop projecting that much as well. So currently what you're smelling in Gullal is at 25% concentration. So it is kind of a balance point where it gives fragrance time to breathe. It gives notes enough room to separate so you can smell different things and experience the whole atmosphere. And it also provides enough ethanol so that it can project a little bit. But it's not going to project so much where it fills up the room. The kind of fragrances, like some designer fragrances where they just project like an amplifier. That's like multiple things what's there in the fragrance. And it's not just mixed with ethanol. Sometimes they also have to add other things to make it project louder. And from the very beginning, we decided that we're not going to do that. I'm not going to go into reason because it's more technical and I'm not the best person to explain it. But I find it messes up with the fragrance as well. The notes will not separate as much. It will project like one heavy note fragrance versus what we like to do, just little elements of creating a different atmosphere. And when you change the concentration, the separation of notes changes. Like higher the concentration, you can imagine that the notes are more together, and the lower the concentration, the more separated they are. So you want to decide like how much space you want to keep between your notes and how you want to project them.
This is
interesting.
Absolutely helped me make a bit more sense of perfume concentrations, because I've often found that I've fallen into this trap as well, where I've got the EDP version, but now there's the elixir. And if I go and get the elixir, that's just going to be even stronger and even project even more. And it's not actually been my lived experience. Like certainly longevity, I can probably smell it for a lot longer, but it's not necessarily projecting more. People aren't getting more out of the fragrance when I walk into the room. There's not as much sillage as I'm walking along. So obviously you probably do get, with a higher concentration of perfume oil, it probably does extend the longevity.
It will last longer because there's more oil, but yes, there might not be that much sillage. Yes. And another thing that people often assume is that concentration is just about that, like how much you want to make your fragrance last or project, but it's also about how you are going to experience and smell it. And for that, I would say I got inspired by Frederick Mull, who was digging through their website to learn as much as I can. And when it came to concentration on their FAQ page, you can go and check for yourself. They declared it that every fragrance has a different concentration level because they don't decide it based on what they want to call it, like EDP or anything. They call it Edition de Parfum, right? It's not EDP or EDT or anything, because they decide the concentration level based on at which that fragrance will smell the best.
Which makes perfect sense, right? Yeah. I love that. I had no idea. Did you know that?
Well, no, not that it actually affects how the notes are either compressed or extended, and being able to sort of pick the individual notes out. Like I wasn't aware that was the way it was done, but it absolutely makes sense, because even though I didn't know that, it actually has been my experience of smelling perfume. So it's always good to have the explanation that sits behind it, so you're a bit better educated as to why you might select a fragrance. Because I think we were smelling, I can't remember what brand, it might have been Matière Premier fragrance that we liked.
Hmm.
And we smelt their extract and went, it smells very different. I just thought it would be a louder version of the same thing, but it actually smells quite different to the EDP version. And we didn't actually like that particular extract.
Yeah.
It's not to say it's not a good perfume. It's just, it smelled different.
Yeah, and I would say most fragrances will get heavier when you increase the concentration, whatever their nature is. If it has sweetness, it becomes more sticky sweet. If it has more darkness, like incense and spicy notes, it becomes more darker.
Yeah.
That has been my experience, but I think you just have to try it out yourself to see what changes it brings.
Yeah, and what you find works best for your skin and what you love when
Yeah.
you're smelling it. Yeah.
True.
Amazing. I think after almost 20 episodes now, I don't think we've had an episode where we haven't learnt something new. There's always something new to learn.
That is amazing. And I think with perfumery, you can just keep learning forever.
Yeah, there's quite a lot to it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So
Yeah.
I think this is a really good opportunity to find about your background and how you actually got into
But
perfume.
before we do, I actually would like to just know a little bit more about the name. It's Gullal, right? Did I say?
Gullal.
Yeah. Can you tell us about the inspiration on the name of Gullal?
So originally I was thinking of making it Abir Gullal, which is two words we use for the holy colors. And originally the colors for Holi festival used to be made from dried flower petals and turmeric and those kind of things. Abir means fragrance and Gulal means those dry holy powders. And then I started to think more like that Abir is little irrelevant here because the story is not about fragrance of Holi, but rather the spirit of Holi and how the colors are thrown in the air. And also recently there was a movie released which is called Abir Gulal, and I thought, I don't want people to think that it has something to do with the movie, so I ended up with just Gulal. And when I decided that, it also felt more like a peaceful decision because it just made sense that this is where the inspiration came from, that when the colors are thrown in the air and the way they, just burst, and that's the feeling I wanted to capture. Initially, I had no idea how am I ever going to do that because it's one thing to create something colorful. It is another thing to just take elements from a festival and create something from that. But how do you say that I want it to feel like colors thrown in the air? Like, how do I even describe it to a perfumer? But it worked out.
You can imagine, right? The color, certainly from the opening notes, I can get that impression or that concept.
Yeah, that burst of fragrance, that burst of grapefruit, that sparkle that you've brought in with the pink pepper is really capturing that sort of visual of the burst of those colors during that
And
festival.
then there is also a touch of incense, which gives it a little more depth, and incense by nature is a drier note. So it gives that as if something dry and dusty is in the air, not dusty in a way that makes you sneeze, but it's like you just know that it has little powdery sense to it.
Yeah, right at the edges there, that powder. It's not dominant, but
So orris and incense combination, I would say, is the heart of this fragrance because they together create that powdery, dry, very gently spicy feeling. And then this particular orris is also creamy, not in the sense like food, but creamy, buttery, like cosmetics. Like the way a lipstick is buttery, that's the kind of buttery orris we have here.
Yep.
okay. Fantastic. So just for the people who might not be familiar with the festival, tell us a little bit about what you're actually celebrating when we're throwing out the colours and, sort of celebrating this Holi festival.
So Like the festivals and culture you grow up with, you don't usually question it when you're little. It's only when you get curious or you want to look into the backstory of something, you start learning more about it. And when I wanted to create this fragrance, I started kind of digging more into what is the backstory of Holi. And as kids, we did always learn about story of Prahlad, who was a little kid, ardent devotee of Vishnu, and he uh, endured through all the challenges his father put in front of him. So that is a more popular story, but that also felt a little too cruel to me, that a little boy is being challenged by his own father and tortured just to prove that his faith is wrong and his father's faith is right. And then I found another story which I loved a lot more, which made a lot more sense to put an background of a festival that is so colorful and beautiful. And that is the story of Radha and Krishna when they were little kids. So Krishna is this blue boy with dark blue skin, and Radha is beautiful and fair and his best friend, and they're always playing together. But now and then either somebody will comment or they will just notice themselves, and he will complain that, why are you so fair and why am I dark? And like most kids do, they would just go and complain to his mother as well, that how is it fair that, she is so pretty and I am blue. And his mother was making this Gullal powder, and she just said that, color each other and then you're same. And in modern context also, I think it makes so much sense that if we just see each other as colorful people, we're all same.
That is beautiful. I love.
Yes.
I think I can see why you chose, sort of that as the inspiration there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got to say, I know you do too. You love Indian culture. I really do. The stories are just, there are so many. Just because India has such a long history, and there's so many stories of the various different gods and the entities there. It's just so rich, so much to draw from, and I'm sure in the future you'll continue to draw inspiration from your culture to
Thank you.
work through your perfumes. But that is probably a good segue into your background and how you actually got inspired by perfume. We've all got a story. I'm sure we can all sort of go back and go, oh yeah, that's the moment where I started to think about perfume a little bit differently. Where did it start with you?
So before I started PEOSYM, I was doing product photography on site just as more like a hobby rather than anything serious. And through that, I came across niche fragrances. Before that, I didn't even know that something so beautiful existed. But I always did feel very moved by how things smelled. Not necessarily fragrances, especially the designer fragrances I had experienced all my life didn't quite move me that much, but naturally how the garden smells or how it smells in the kitchen when your mom's cooking, those kind of things mattered to me a lot. I didn't pay that much attention to it, to be honest. It just was something that affected me. And when my mom passed away and I was just newly introduced to this world of niche fragrances, it kind of just two ideas colliding, that I wanted to smell what it smelled like around her. Especially like, when you go home for a vacation and she would start making this wonderful sweet things, and in just her presence, her warmth and the spices and how everything just felt together. I just wanted to find that. And I didn't start with the idea that I will make a fragrance. I was just looking for something in the ready fragrances. I even ended up buying by the fireplace. But after wearing it for a while, it felt like it's not quite that. It's not the spices that I recognize. And then I was also looking at social media as part of my work constantly. And then I started noticing that new Aussie brands are coming up, and they have their own stories and fragrances. And I thought, so, if somebody can start that, that means it's possible to manufacture a fragrance here. Why not look into that? And if that's possible, I'd be able to create something specific in her memory, and it would be so lovely to share it with, friends and families who also miss her. And that's, where it kind of started. And after the first fragrance, it wasn't quite sure whether I will make the second one or not. But after putting that grief to rest, giving it place to become a sweeter memory, it felt like I had another thing to do. I wanted to convey how that lightness felt after letting go of something. And that's how Nimohee came to be, which was almost like a serendipity. I didn't quite expect that second one also will come to life, but it did. And then, you kind of start to question that, am I able to do something that I never thought I could before? And meanwhile, I was reaching out to different fragrance houses, like Nimohee was done with Judan. And during the same time, I had also put an inquiry with Firmnish if I could work with them on this project. But Firmnish came back to me later. By then, Nimohee was already finalized. And when they came back to me, the scope they gave me was much bigger. Like, I could do anything and everything I wanted with that fragrance. And I thought, if this is the last one, I want it to be an ode to my home. Let's see if I can do that as well. Is it possible to create a fragrance that is chaotic and sweet and fun, and it represents India the way I see it? Because that's what I didn't see in the market. It's not that people don't get inspired by India, but it wasn't necessarily how I felt about it. And once Horn Okay Please was done, that I think was the moment when I felt like, this is my thing now. This is what I want to keep doing.
So I think a lot of people who haven't done a deep dive into perfumery, so they might be aware of different perfume brands and they've experienced a lot of different perfumes, they might not know some of these resources that you've just spoken about here. So places like Givaudan or Firmenich, what are they when you refer to them? Like what is Firmenich?
Oh gosh, I've never thought about I ever had to describe these giants. They are the fragrance industry leaders in my mind. They are the main fragrance houses. They source raw ingredients, develop their own new ingredients. They have the best perfumers. And if I'm not mistaken, both of them are originally France-based companies. And they are global manufacturers for fragrances. And then there are also other houses like IFF, Simirise, and then there are smaller manufacturers in Australia as well. One of them we have worked with, Mombati Company. Others, I cannot recollect the correct name, so I would refrain from saying anything. But if you just reach out to different people, I think there are local Australian fragrance manufacturers as well.
Absolutely. It's always good to educate people on what they are, because sometimes we throw around names like IFF or Firmenich or Robertet or Givaudan.
Yeah.
These businesses, or these they're not quite houses, because they don't produce perfumes. They do have perfumers.
Yes.
They produce the raw materials that are supplied to most of the major perfume houses across the world. They are actually in control of the regulatory body being IFRA as well. So they all combine to sort of regulate that. Yeah. So they, which is quite interesting, they sort of self-regulate.
But I didn't know that. See, I'm learning something here as well.
And so if you're wanting to start a perfume brand, you need the raw materials. So you would go to places like this to get the raw materials in the first place. But as you've just explained there, you can actually also tap into the expertise of the perfumers, and a lot of the big perfumers that we know. I mean, you mentioned Frederick Moll. He would have been a byproduct of one of these large perfume businesses as well. So I love Frederick Moll, by the way. Portrait of a Lady, big fan.
So one of the best brands out there, especially when you look at fragrances as an art form. I think Frederick Moll range is like an art gallery.
Yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. I think you get real bang for buck with him as well. Like if you walk into a major retailer and you see the prices of his perfumes, yes, they are very expensive, but it's value. It's the relative value that you're getting from them, because they're just glorious. They really are.
Yeah.
This edition of Olfactive Melbourne is proudly brought to you by Silver Australia. Silver Australia design and shape their jewellery in their studio in Melbourne, and they're pleased to offer Olfactive Melbourne listeners 20% off when you use the code MASA20.
Purvi, thank you so much for taking us through your background there. It's just
My
been such an interesting journey for you. It has now been probably, I'd say, 20 minutes, 25 minutes since we actually sprayed the perfume out to start with. I think it's time to revisit. What do you think?
Let's do it. So I'll just go back to the perfume pyramid and just introduce the heart notes. So the heart notes form the center or the core of the perfume pyramid. It's really where the perfume's soul or the character of the perfume really comes into its own. And it features sometimes florals or spices or aromatic herbs that give the character and depth to the fragrance. The heart notes normally start to emerge as the brightness of the top notes begin to fade, and they can be like bridge or transition as smoothly to the rich base notes. So they do tend to linger and last within our memory as well. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the heart notes and what we should be smelling around about this time within the fragrance.
All right. So this is exactly where it's going to start smelling very different on different people. Like my skin is warmer, so I'm already starting to get a bit more incense and dry wood, which are usually the base notes. But more prominently, you will experience that smoothness of orris. Orris will not come out prominently on its own in this fragrance because the main role it plays here is giving it that powdery binding sort of factor. And then there is also a fennel seed note, which gives it a very gentle green aspect, and some people find it foresty as well, more like the damp forest floor. And orris can also be a green note, but not here. The orris we've chosen here is more of the buttery orris, and combined with fennel seed and still some lingering that citrusy aspect of grapefruit, together they feel like this gentle, foresty, and more atmospheric greenness. And in my mind, what I was trying to achieve here was that damp skin during Holi, because people are playing with water, their skin is damp, and then you also start throwing this dry colors, like kind of first is lifted in the air and then it starts settling down on your skin and hair. And that combination of dry powder and damp skin is what we were seeking, but not so literally where it feels unpleasant. And that's how this damp forest path kind of emerged. So if you pay attention, you're already starting to get a little fruitiness, which is a combination of dry wood and ambergris from the base notes. But there is also the greenness from fennel seeds. And although orris will not be visible so much, it's what is bringing it all together so that they do not feel like very separate elements in very separate directions.
What do you experience?
Yeah, this has evolved a fair bit for me because I run quite warm as well. And so it's evolving on my skin. I can't believe the glisten that I'm getting on my skin here, by the way. But we've gone from, at least on my skin, that super juicy to the greenness really starting to come through. So it's the juiciness is still there, but it's more in the background now, while those green notes really start to come to the fore. I can absolutely see what you mean in here about the dampness, but I think when we say like dampness, it sounds heavy. It's not heavy. It's not a heavy dampness.
It's like gently sprinkled water.
Yes, that's the perfect way to describe it. I think I can't disconnect my experience of the fragrance now from the festival, because I've seen this,
you got a picture in your mind, don't you, of that festival?
Absolutely. People are spraying themselves with water and the all the various colours, and everybody's just covered in all these bright colours. You can see that story unfolding in the fragrance as we get there. So yeah, definitely for me, green. What about yourself?
I'm getting the earthy with the green, but I really love it. It's a lovely earthiness, as you say. It's not that dense by any means.
I would say it's more like the morning dew kind of earthiness.
Have a smell.
Because there is also a fruity aspect to it, which makes it more of that colorful feeling.
It's almost like yours is a bit of a lighter kind of. Maybe those are the wood. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I'm actually getting some woods coming through as well.
I wanted to say that I can smell something a little florally on your skin, which
which is the musk, and that musk, which we don't know what exact musk the perfumer has chosen, but this particular musk is Firmenish's in-house musk. And I've got 2 samples for you if you want to smell it again and now compare it with the scent on your skin.
I think this is an ideal opportunity to do this because we're all about, sort of training our noses on this show. I think one of the best ways to train your nose is to, smell some of those raw ingredients and then compare it to your skin and just see what you're actually smelling. So what have we got first?
For me, this is not the one. For me, I smell more of this one on my skin, which is more fruity. And this one is slightly more metallic and floral. But then I smelled it on somebody else's skin, and then I could smell more of that metallic floral musk versus the fruity one.
So what is this one called? Sorry, I know it's like an in-house.
This is just so hard to pronounce. I had learned from Google, but I'm not sure if
I think you're right. I'm going to try.
Halvitolite is the one I've got.
Yep. Habanolide. No, it's not
like tongue twisters.
Google it. Let's have a smell. Okay, so I see what you mean. So this is the more metallic smell here.
Yeah, this one is more fruity.
Thank you.
I think I'm not getting.
And now when you smell it, so if your skin is warmer like mine, you will probably get more of the fruity aspect.
Yeah, I can. This one feels more similar to my skin. Yeah. But then I did also feel like
So my best guess is that there is a combination of both of these in this fragrance. And depending on your skin chemistry, the weather, either of them will come out more or less. But we decided not to write musk in the notes because this is not like your usual musk. This is more of that background musk, which like binds everything together, gives a very vague sense of fruity and floral aspect, but not particularly like a fruit that you can identify or a flower that you can identify.
Okay.
So the role of the musk here is probably just to, grab and enhance the fragrance a little.
Just like orris, it is also bringing everything together.
Fantastic. So you mentioned fennel seeds as well.
Yes.
So what does the fennel bring to the?
Fennel seed here is also definitely an accord. It's not an extract here, at least. And during the Holi, we celebrated with this special drink called Thandai. And Thandai is made using, what is the thing called? I can only recall the Hindi and Gujarati name, but it's opium is made from that as well. What is the plant?
The poppy.
Poppies.
No. What do people smoke?
The
marijuana.
Yes, marijuana. Okay. So like a cannabis type
cannabis,
of...
yes.
Cannabis.
So the drink is made with cannabis, fennel seeds, black pepper, and milk, and almond meal, and all together. But I wanted to bring just fennel seed from there because for black pepper, we already have like that, pink pepper kind of spiciness.
Mm.
And then I didn't want to bring like milk and almond, which will make this a very gourmand scent. But fennel seed is a very prominent part of this drink. Like if you don't know anything else and you're just trying it, fennel seed is what you're likely to notice first. And then cannabis is also a very green and bitter sort of plant. And we already have bitterness from grapefruit. So it felt like the only missing thing for me was fennel seeds, and just wanted to bring that kind of gentle greenness to it to complete the picture, where we have festivals colors, we have that, wet skin feeling, and we also have that little bit of smokiness from incense, which is a reference to Holika Dahan from previous day. The only thing missing was the celebratory drink. Like, every festival has a particular sweet dish or something that represents that festival in terms of food. And here it was this drink that I wanted to just like get a touch of. And it also felt like the right element to complete the picture.
Yeah, bring balance.
Yeah.
Balance to the fragrance. That's lovely. Fantastic. So we've got fennel seeds, we've got the orris. We're definitely getting that greenness, the damp earth, but we've noted that it's not a heavy dampness. It's more of a spritz, which sort of represents the process through this festival where we're covering each other with water, covering ourselves with colours. And you just noted when you smelt it on my skin, some white sort of florals that were coming through.
Which is the musk. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we're getting a little bit of everything. We've even noticed some of the woods that are coming through here as well. So in terms of how this this fragrance unfolds, to me, it's not unfolding quite in that sort of linear manner that you might see from that traditional perfume structure. Is that sort of deliberate?
Yes, and that is exactly why we don't describe notes in pyramid structure as well, because what we are trying to do is create an atmosphere, and atmosphere does not progress in a linear manner. Like you enter, you notice few things first, but then you also start to taking in everything, and even the first things you noticed are affected by what's there in the background, and that's how we kind of approach the fragrances as well. So the notes are more like they would be written in the order of top, mid, and base notes, but they're not described as such because we believe that they will unfold like an atmosphere.
Interesting. And that makes sense. And it's certainly my experience of what I'm getting on my skin.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, like, obviously you have a very strong vision and you have all these elements that you want to include in the fragrance. How do you go about communicating that to a perfumer and working with a perfumer to create the vision that you're happy with?
I'm a visual person, so there is definitely always a set of visuals to go with every brief. At heart, I'm also a storyteller, so usually there would be a story reference. So with visuals and stories, it's pretty much set in terms of the mood, but I also like to include some notes as what I'm trying to seek in this fragrance, because as a collection, you also want to give people varieties and options. And more than offering it to people, I feel like I would like to work with different elements and just create a curation that feels more wholesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to explore some of the broader range, so we'll get a better idea of the variety that sits within the PEOSYM range. Before we do, though, I guess with this fragrance, I don't feel that this one's particularly female, particularly male. It feels quite unisex, but I guess what's your philosophy in terms of approaching gender in fragrance?
I do personally really dislike gender-based fragrances, not because they're gender-based, but also because how the market has come to be around them. That fragrances targeted to female smell like cupcakes and vanilla and flowers and sweet things, and fragrances created for men are absolute representation of toxic masculinity, in my opinion. Not everything and 100%. There are like good brands and good products out there. I personally do like some of them. Like my first fragrance that I bought myself with my own first salary was Giorgio Armani's Equa di Dio. And although it's a men's fragrance, I thought it was just absolutely what I felt like at that stage in my life. And there are some Hermes fragrances that I really admire, no matter what gender they are targeted to. So that was kind of one thing which made me feel like why fragrances has to be targeted to gender. And that was before I even came to niche fragrances. And when I discovered this world, which was absolutely different and so unique from the usual mass marketed fragrances, didn't care about gender, didn't care about price point. It's like as expensive as you can go, but this is just about discovering joy and wearing fragrances for yourself. It just felt absolutely right. And when I was creating my own fragrances, I didn't even think twice about whether it was ever going to be gender-based fragrances, because there was a very obvious answer for me that you wear fragrances for yourself, and that's just it, no matter who you are.
It's a great philosophy. And I think this is something that we have discovered through our perfume journey as well, is that gender-based fragrances is a marketing tool. It's got actually no basis in reality. I love rose.
Yeah.
Before I actually educated myself on fragrance, I felt that wearing rose was I was wearing a female fragrance, but I couldn't really compute if I bring Robin roses and she loves the smell of roses, then wouldn't she love the smell of me if I was wearing roses? So why is that feminine? It just didn't compute for me. And then what I've discovered over time is that, of course, it's just like assigning a color as male or female. It's insane. Like, why would you do that? It makes absolutely no sense.
It's actually a good analogy, right? The whole pink versus blue and all that stuff. Yeah.
So recently somebody said that, but men do smell things differently, or they have different personality, and that is why they have different taste. And I wasn't even thinking about arguing with them, but we were eating and I just kind of like questioned, but what about food? Like, men do not have different taste in food. It's still a personal choice whether you like spicy or sweet or salty. It has nothing to do with gender, right? And food has a lot to do with how things smell. I mean, we do not taste just with our mouth, and the fragrance of what you're eating does affect you. So why, when it comes to wearing fragrances, we just assume that men would have a different taste?
Yeah. Imagine having male or female food. I mean, I love the pig donuts. I love them. As you can see. Yeah, I think it's still out. Now, I certainly do note that in perfumery that there are smells that lean one way or another in terms of how we might traditionally think of masculine or feminine, but they aren't male or female. They just lean one way or another.
Yeah.
And it can depend on your personal choice, whether you like more masculine or feminine fragrances. That's completely fine.
Yeah, I even think your energy and how you wear the fragrance will make a difference, because, the whole thing with men and florals, some men just won't go there because maybe for whatever reason. But a confident man wearing a floral is actually really quite, to me, interesting and intriguing, to smell. And, I love rose on trend, but also even other florals. And they definitely work differently on your skin. And some of them smell amazing. Yeah.
I would say like clothes is a good example to explain this. Imagine just a shirt, like a simple cotton shirt can be for men or women. A linen shirt can be for men or women. But imagine a silk shirt. That might not be everybody's thing. Some men might feel that, this is too feminine for me. It's not necessarily that they do not embrace their feminine side or anything, but it's just that it doesn't suit their personality. And the same way, like, if some fragrances are too floral for somebody, that's fine. Like, I personally wouldn't wear a silk shirt because that's not my thing. But for somebody, it can be like their entire wardrobe. So you do you.
Yeah, it's
You do
personal
you.
taste.
Yeah.
Like what you like, love what you love who you love. It's all fine.
Yeah.
That we shouldn't be putting ourselves into boxes. The more you put yourself into a box, the less you get to experience of the world and experience of life.
Yeah.
Step outside of the box and enjoy everything and don't miss anything. That's what I think we
Yes.
should be doing. All right. So, I know that we are not unfolding in the traditional linear sort of structure. We do have
Yeah.
some time to go through the dry down and explore the broader range. So, you've brought all of your different fragrances in today. Where do you
Yeah.
think we should start?
Let's go with the chronological order. We'll start with Lost Wanderer.
Lost
Okay.
Wanderer. Fantastic. Let's do Lost Wanderer first. So we'll pop these. Obviously, we've run out of skin here. We're saving our skin, but we're going to put these onto some blotters, and we've got Lost Wanderer. So you just mentioned it's chronological order, so that means that this was the first one
This was
that we
the first
actually
one.
released. So let's have a little smell. All right, this is quite different to what we're smelling with our masterclass fragrance.
Yes, I'd agree.
Have a smell. What
Yeah.
are we actually experiencing here? Obviously, we're only going to get sort of that opening impression. What are our sort of keynotes that we're smelling?
So, the one thing that is most prominent about Lost Wanderer, and it stays from beginning till the end, is spices.
Yes.
And that was the most important thing for me that time as well, because that particular spice blend is what reminds me of her warmth. And then there is vanilla, tobacco. Tobacco is very, very gentle and velvety here, so it does not disrupt the spices but enhances them. And vanilla gives that like smoother, sweeter background without being too sweet.
So, just as a reminder for our listeners and for our viewers, the first fragrance that you created was inspired by trying to capture the essence of Mum.
Yes, the memory of her sweet presence.
I think you've done a really good job here. I mean, obviously, I
Thank
didn't
you.
know your mum, but when you say sweet presence, vanilla,
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm getting that certainly in the opening. But you've also got the spices, so it's not a super sickly sweet.
No,
vanilla.
and there is
That
honey
little
in there,
warmth
and
to it.
yes, and honey brings that warm hug sort of feeling. So you know how honey is sweet, but it's not same sweetness as sugar. It's more of that comforting sweetness.
Yeah, you've captured that so well. Comforting is a great word for this
Thank you.
fragrance.
There's some warmth there from the tobacco as well
Yes,
that you
so
mentioned.
tobacco kind of smooth things out here, because just vanilla spices, honey would become a really gourmand sort of scent, and then in the base you still need something to give it a little more body, give it a little more oomph, and that's where the tobacco comes in. So it's very gentle, velvety tobacco. It doesn't feel too green or too much like a cigar, but it has more there to just complete the picture. And this fragrance credit goes a lot to Mombati Company, because initially, your first fragrance, I didn't know anything about what I was doing. I just knew what I was seeking, but what to do in terms of notes, what to do to bring it together. And it was also time of COVID, so there was just like a lot of restrictions, limited materials, disrupted supply chains, and it all felt like, I don't know how this is going to happen, because initially what we were working on was a fragrance with roses and tobacco. But then, like I said, supply chain was disrupted and we had to just discard that and start from scratch. And I was quite nervous, like how is this going to work out? But they were really helpful in terms of guiding me what to pick and choose, how to describe a story. And they literally gave me a huge form so that I could just think about different aspects of an idea and fill it out. And it would force me to think of it in a broader perspective than just like, this is what I want. Because initially I was like, I can also have mangoes because Indian mangoes are famous. And I can also have saffron because Baccarat Rouge is trending. And well, like, no, if your story is unique, just focus on that unique story and pick out elements from there. And you don't have to have everything, just like what matters most to you, what will be the most authentic thing about this fragrance for you, and focus on that.
Yeah, I think remaining true to your story, you have done the right thing here? Because you would think a first fragrance would be potentially a little bit average. You've hit it out of the park with this. This is a
No, I would give a
glorious
lot of
fragrance.
credit to Mombati company for that. And I think that also became my guiding factor, that from there on, it just became a path where you just follow the story. You decide on a story and then let that story take the lead, instead of trying to make something that is for the market or for the trends or for just because you are mesmerized by another fragrance.
So it sort of gives you structure and an ability to focus on narrowing down exactly what your story is and
Yes,
what the...
like a North Star.
Perfect.
So the fragrance is inspired by capturing Mum's sweetness and the sense that you associate with her. The name is Lost Wanderer. Does the name sort of mean your journey to capturing?
Yes, the name, it's about being lost in your thoughts. And while usually being lost in thoughts can be considered almost a bad thing, it's not necessarily true. Sometimes you have to lose yourself first to find yourself again, because when you're stuck in a picture that the society or the people around you or your life experiences have decided for you, how do you know who you really are? So you have to get out of that, be little unsure about everything, and then come back to the things that really feel true to yourself. And why this was important for me at that stage is because my mom was like my pillar. She was the glue holding my pieces together. I was never afraid of just being heartbroken, because I knew that I could just like go back to her and she'll tell me what to do. So when she was gone, I suddenly felt like, what do I do now? Now when I'm lost or I'm heartbroken, what will I do? And it was a big fear for me, but grieving for her, learning that grief comes from also loving somebody, and it's a price worth paying. I mean, who you gonna grieve if you never had somebody so important in your life, if you never knew somebody that you're gonna miss so much? I mean, that's a privilege. And learning that taught me that while I'm feeling lost right now, there are things that she's given me, there are things she has infused in me that will always be there. So it's okay, I can get lost and I will find myself again.
That is beautiful. Have we got the waterworks going? We've got the waterworks going.
I'm sorry for making you cry.
It really is. It's you've really done your mother's memory so proud, and
Thank you.
it's just our mothers are so special to us all. That's just it's from the heart, and
Thank you.
it's just made me a little bit emotional.
And
It's a
I
beautiful
really
story.
wanted to share
Yeah.
this story for that as well, because people think of grief and loss as darker subjects, but
Yeah.
they're not. They're just part of life. You can't ignore them or try to hide them. I mean, most fragrances do celebrate joy and being confident, being sexy, the allure part of life, and all the gold and glitter. But what about the pains and problems and the things that you go through? Without them, you do not grow. Without them, you do not become a whole person. So why should we just look at one side? And that is another thing we try to do with our fragrances, that they have to be a whole story. Like Nimohee is about letting go and telling you that letting go is not a bad thing. You need that sometimes in your life. And that is where you're going to find a fresh beginning.
Yeah, life is a multi-dimensional experience. It's the light and the dark. You can't really enjoy one without the other.
Exactly.
Life is contrast. So it looks like we are on quite the journey here.
We are.
We have set the bar pretty high with our first fragrance here, Lost Wanderer. Now we are moving in chronological order. So which one are we moving on to next?
Oh, I think it's just a nice coincidence that I just spoke about Nimohee, and that's the next one.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
All right. So let me have a smell as well, and then you can take us through what are the notes that we're smelling here.
So the described notes for Nimohee are just 4. It's mint, magnolia, moss, and musk. Actually, there are a lot more notes given officially by the perfumer, but you're not going to smell all of them. Like I can tell you one of them is cardamom, but you're not going to smell cardamom in there. It plays a role, but it is mainly a fresh fragrance that is grounding. And for me, freshes were not my things. And I was seeking something lighter at that time in life. Like I told you, I had dealt with my grief and I was ready to go for a new chapter, a fresh beginning. But I wanted a fresh beginning that was grounded, that was earthy enough to tell me that I'm not going to lose my footing, that I'm growing slowly. And Nimohee was something we found almost in a ready form. And it was just a serendipity.
It's very fresh. It's very, very fresh. I get the mint, but it's not overly dominant.
No.
It's a herbal mint. It's not like that toothpastey sharp mint.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Very fresh. So,
and I just want to say before you mention that the contrast between Lost Wanderer to this and smelling it in chronological order like that as you're telling the story, I can feel the energy of this fragrance of the letting go. So it's very well done like that.
The idea is to create different fragrances, but they should have the same sense of philosophical balance and an urge to seek something within you.
So it's becoming clearer and clearer to me as we start to move through the range here that PEOSYM is telling your story as your life unfolds. So we've gone from, the beauty of mum, the recapturing mum, the grief and the loss of losing mum, into the next stage of, we're not getting over mum, but we're moving to the next stage of life. And as you mentioned, I think a great description, you haven't lost your footing and that you feel reinvigorated and ready to move forward. And that's why you've got this beautiful freshness that comes through with this. Absolutely.
Thank you.
This is I would say this is all season fresh. So rather than it just being a summer or a spring fragrance, whereas Lost Wanderer,
it's an autumn favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very
it's autumn in a bottle.
It's a very classy fragrance, Lost Wanderer. That's the type of fragrance I would wear with a suit. I would wear to work. I would wear on a night out. This fragrance here, it's sorry, help me with the pronunciation. It's a Nimohee.
Nimohee.
Nimohee. This one is a bit more casual, weekend, jeans, fresh. So that, again, just there's contrast everywhere that we see with your collection.
Yeah, I think even like doing activities like movement, getting this sort of lightness and on the go.
It's like hot day sort of fragrance that you can get sweaty and it will not stink on you.
It's great gym scents, sports scents, out and about scents. Again, for the type of day that we've got today, where it's beautiful and warm and sunny here in Melbourne, this is the go-to. It's absolutely beautiful, really delicate, but not light. It projects. It's got body to it, without being sort of overwhelming. Absolutely lovely. All right, now we're going to continue moving through chronological order here. Which is the next fragrance in chronological order?
The third one is Hornoke, please. And while creating this fragrance, I was kind of telling myself that what if this is the last one we create? What if, after this, we have run out of ideas and the ability to do more, and that it has to be an ode to my home, because best journeys lead back home. And I just wanted to portray my homeland the way I see it. And for me, the traffic system of India represents the Indian culture the best. You go through different states and everything changes. But that chaos of being on the road kind of remains same. And trucks are the one thing that will go across India everywhere, and you will spot them everywhere with this ridiculous words written behind them. Horn, okay, please. And there is a whole story of how it came to be. Like, okay, originally used to be on kerosene because during the World War, there was like shortage of fuel and some trucks will be running on kerosene. So they will go slower and it's also like more dangerous. So, okay, meant like this truck is on kerosene. And horn, please was like, if you're going to overtake me because I'm going so slowly, just like horn and alert me. So, but over a period of time, people kind of just started writing it in this colorful graphics as if like that was the norm. Like every truck had to have that. And I just love it. It's like represents Indian culture in so many ways. The way these words are written and the, elements they will put around them. And that's like the only thing you will find common across all different states. Otherwise, language will change, food will change, people's clothing will change. The entire culture will be different as per what state you are in. And even within that state, there will be like subcultures. But this traffic system and this colorful trucks, they're just everywhere. And to me, that's what represents India. That little chaos, that little, survival instinct to just find your own path because anything will be going anywhere. I mean, there is right side and wrong side, but don't just always rely on that. There will be a dog running across suddenly, or there'll be cow who has claimed a spot. And like people, the flower vendors, everybody will have claim on that road and you cannot complain. You just focus on finding your own path.
And isn't it incredible? Like I've been to India and I remember thinking, how come there's not more collisions? Because as you say, everybody just knows.
Because nobody's expecting any system. It's like you just drive and be safe. It's your own responsibility.
I've got to say, this is unique,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is.
I mean, this is, to me, it's quite complex.
It's much bolder than the other two fragrances, for sure. It was like when I decided to be a little more audacious, not just be shy and safe, and just do something that is little out of my comfort zone and at the same time more authentic to me. Like it has white flowers, but I cannot wear white flowers that are traditional white flower fragrances. They give me headache and they also just feel not like me. But I wanted white flowers that I could relate to because when you look at the Indian culture, I mean, rose can be from anywhere, but the jasmine and tuberose are heavily related to India's history and culture and, the women who put gajra in their hair.
Yeah. Yes.
So I wanted to celebrate that. And I also wanted to just bring in that chaos with that.
Yeah, I've got to say it's, for me, I definitely do get a bit of the white flowers. It is also a little bit boozy for me.
There is rum note in there.
Yeah,
And
you get that
spicy.
immediate. That was what I got. Like the first initial spray was the booziness.
Yeah, the booziness there. But it's not overly
No.
boozy. It's balanced out with the white flowers. There's some
And the
spice.
spice. Yeah.
There's clove and cinnamon. And then there is cedarwood and sandalwood in there as well.
Yeah, I can sort of see now, again, so this is why story and description just help so much. I have not been to India. Robin's been to India, but I can see the organised chaos of the streets.
The harmonic chaos.
Yeah, harmonic.
Harmonic
It's
chaos.
all in this fragrance. And the fragrance isn't chaotic. It is balanced. It's that balanced harmony of, as you said, everybody's finding their own place. There are no accidents. It's just everything moves as it should. It's life. So very, very unique fragrance there. So
and there is also a note of styrax in there, which is like leather, but not like suede kind of leather. It's more like that rubbery leather, which is used for rickshaw and truck seats kind of things.
Well, I'm glad you explained the name because this is one where I was horn okay, please.
Yeah.
Like that's
I know.
that's pretty left of a field, but now that you've explained it, actually it makes perfect sense and also suits the suits the collection quite well, especially as we're moving through this life journey. So now we've returned home. Beautiful fragrance. I mean, if you're looking for something that is not like anything else that you've smelt and you're looking something quite unique, Something that is probably, again, you could wear this. I couldn't pin this down to a particular season.
No.
I also
I love it for evenings when, like, you just want to enjoy a slow dinner with family or friends, or just, when you're not in rush anymore.
I think occasion is the right way to describe it rather than season. It's an occasion fragrance. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it is lovely. And again, anyone can wear that, I'd
Yes.
say. Yeah, it's so well blended that
Thank
it's not, not, as you said, the notes aren't necessarily just
Yeah.
floral or just boozy or anything like that.
We worked on this for like quite a while, and the perfumer Florian Gallo, he is just tremendously talented.
Yeah, he's done a very good job of blending that and interpreting your brief, which I can imagine is probably a pretty challenging brief to take to him in the first
Most of the
place.
time I would describe things in textures and like, this is lovely, but it just needs little more rounded edges, or this is nice, but I do not like when it starts to feel sticky. I'm like, okay, let's first figure out which part feels sticky, so then we can work on that. But they've got a great team. So they give me like, a little set of people to discuss things with, and they would help me navigate and figure things out. Just amazing.
Well, this is the curious nature of perfumery, isn't it? That you could sort of put perfumery in the box of it's science, it's chemistry, but it's not quite chemistry. It's where chemistry and art intersect.
Yes, it is.
And so people need to be able to interpret. I want you to capture this memory or this place or this feeling and turn it into a physical note or a scent. And so you need both. And so, yeah, it's a certainly an art form that we respect.
Yes.
It's the whole reason why we've got a show like this to explore this type of thing. Fantastic. All right, so we're moving in chronological order.
Yes.
We've got one more fragrance in the range.
Yes.
As of now.
Yes.
We'll explore what's next a little bit later in the show. But what is our last fragrance in the range here?
So that one is Mithai. And like I said, Horn Okay Please was quite a pivotal moment. It helped me decide that this is what I want to continue doing. It also gave me freedom to be able to share the perfumer's name finally, which was a huge deal for us, because that's an art without being able to credit an artist is not quite complete. And once we arrived to that point, like you were saying, I also noticed that these are just all my stories. These are like very, very personal perspectives. And from here, where do I go? Because I do not want this brand to be just about like me. And how do I broaden that perspective? And the most obvious answer was collaboration. Like, it can be still a personal perspective, but it can be someone else's personal perspective. And I had developed quite a communication rapport with Yogi, who is a fragrance reviewer from USA, and she's of Indian origin, and she grew up in USA. So as an Indian person, I kind of started thinking that her perspective of the same culture would be very different, because she didn't grow up in that culture, but she does belong to that. Like, she would visit it, but her main ideas and what she sees as value of the culture would come from different sources, her parents, and I don't know what else to even reference to, because I have not lived that life. My kid is growing up into the same kind of channel. So I was talking to her and I asked her, like, if you had to create a fragrance, what would that be? And to her, it was very clear that it would be a gourmand fragrance, because one thing that is trending, but it's just kind of an empty feeling to see all the gourmands being like croissants and cupcakes and all the Western desserts, like where are our desserts? Where is, like, the celebration that we enjoy? And for her, that was also a representation of how she experiences Indian culture the most. Because when you're not living in that country, your food that you eat and share with your family becomes the main thing that you see as the anchor of your culture. And Kaju Katri is this cashew-based dessert that is loved by most Indian kids. whether they will like other traditional sweets or not, this is like one they can relate to because it's not too far from the Western sweets while it is still unique and very different to Indian culture. And my kid also loves the same sweet, and she said like my cousins also like. And I started kind of thinking that is this like a common thing across Indian diaspora, and so we kind of decided that that would be a good fragrance to create, and it was her idea. I also wanted to keep it as her perspective, that the way I would think about Kaju Katri and sweets would be different from the way she would approach it. So we started it as a collaboration project. I'm glad we did, because immediately after the first round, when we had to decide on a direction, like usually like as a first round, we will receive various samples of different perfumers' interpretations, and then we have to choose like which direction we're gonna go, and then kind of refining it until we arrive to a point where it feels like, okay, this is now it.
Yep.
So when we had to decide on that direction, the one that I was leaning towards was very different from the one she was leaning towards. And we decided that it's her project, it's her perspective. I'm more like Gandalf here, just guiding through the journey. So we went with that, and I'm glad we did, because the moment we started adding other elements like cardamom and rose to it, it just became something new and unique, versus what I was going for was slightly a done thing. And I really enjoyed working on that project. So now I'm doing another collaboration as well. It's brewing in the background. But yeah, I think I would like to do more collaborations, because it brings in different perspectives on life. And like I said, I would still be there as Gandalf. So it will still have that PEOSYM soul, but it can have different taste and different approaches towards creating a fragrance.
I love this. I wish I had a better word to describe it other than beautiful, but it's a beautiful
Thank you.
fragrance. I just wish I had a few more words in my, in my drawers that I can pull out from, because it's a delicious smelling fragrance without being overly sweet.
Yes.
So very wearable. Tell me, Mithai, is that a word for sweet?
Mithai means desserts.
Desserts. Fantastic. So this is absolutely beautiful, and I still think, I know that we've sort of talked about your journey and how this one's a collaboration, just to sort of broaden things, but it still feels like your journey. So we've gone from mum to you taking that sort of next step to plant your feet and move forward with life, and then the return home, and then broadening our horizons.
Yeah, building confidence to go out into the world with your story and connecting with more people to create more stories.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. And while this is a collaboration, your spirit, your soul is still present throughout this range all the way through. It's very clear that this is you. Despite the collaboration, your artistic direction is still very present in this collection. It is, honestly, it's a beautiful set. It's definitely worth getting your nose on all of these. I love them all. This one is just, wow, what a way to finish. It's
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking us through your range. It's a beautiful set of fragrances there. What I would love to do now is, return to our masterclass fragrance and just see how it's evolved on our skin. Now, obviously, we talk about base notes in the show. And just to ensure that we are continuing on with our education, I'm just going to revisit our base notes for a moment. So, when we talk base notes, and return to that perfume pyramid, the base notes sit at the very bottom of the pyramid. Base notes are effectively the opposite of those opening notes. So when I describe the opening notes as those lighter and more volatile aroma molecules that surface to the fragrance first and dissipate the fastest, the base notes are often the densest of the aroma molecules that stick to our skin and last the longest. And they provide longevity, but they also provide the base that's the other notes sort of sit on top of it. Helps to bolster the rest of the fragrance. So I guess with all of that said, and knowing that this fragrance doesn't unfold in that same sort of linear manner, let's have another smell and just see how the fragrance has actually evolved on our skin. So certainly changing on my skin, certainly from that initial
Yes.
opening we've had. So because we've had quite a long time. Robin, are you finding that yours is a little bit different there as well?
Yeah, more woody,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
for me. Yeah. But still with the, on my skin, the heart notes are still quite,
Yes.
they're there, but definitely getting that woodiness coming through now. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, there's been a balance shift.
Mhm.
So while in the opening, very fruity, and sparkly, it is now more incense
Oh,
dominant
okay.
on my skin. Just have a little smell, and you can sort of see what I'm talking about here.
Oh.
Just a little bit more incense dominant. So I'm not saying it's flipped on its head, but just the balance has changed a little bit for me. Yeah, and again, it's amazing how the skin
Mm.
and the microbiome and the temperature makes fragrance appear quite or smell quite different on the skin. For us now, that separation of how it's smelling on my skin versus yours has become much more apparent. It smells a bit different on both of our skins.
So, not a rule, but in general, I would say that the more natural materials you have, the more it is likely to react to skin versus synthetics. Synthetics can smell somewhat similar on everybody, and the more additives and things you have added to make it project longer, it will smell similar from beginning to end, like a lot more than a niche fragrance where, like, you have a combination of different things. And yes, this is the stage where the grapefruit and the salt has almost disappeared. Pink pepper is still a little bit there, but it's also more of the spiciness coming from incense. Incense is although like very, very gentle note here. It's like handled with utmost care. It's a very tricky note actually. We have added just enough to give it depth and a very gentle touch of smokiness. If you can't notice smokiness on your skin, it will come out like even a couple hours later. The drier it gets, the longer it stays, the more of that incense smokiness will come out. Incense is probably one of the longest lasting notes. You add a little more, it will become darker, but you add a lot of it, it will become super sharp. So it's a very versatile note, and how much you add will depend on how it comes across.
I think it's a good call out here because you just noted that incense is a tricky note.
Yeah.
You're very right. It can be a bit divisive. So if
Yes.
you have, if our viewers and listeners have smelt incense fragrances before, they could have all had a very different experience depending on what type of incense
Yes.
they've
Yes.
smelt. We've
Can be
certainly
quite
smelt
dominant.
Yeah,
Can't
we've
it?
smelt some that are just wow.
Yeah.
I feel like I've just stepped into a church or into a temple,
Mhm.
and I've got it in my face. Whereas sometimes it's very, very light and in the
Yes.
background. I would say this one leans more towards the latter, where it's light
Exactly.
and delicate and well balanced, rather than all you get is
Yes.
incense.
It is there to kind of just add enough weight for the fragrance to feel more full-bodied than a very light and citrusy fragrance, but not too much where it can take over everything else. The more prominent note right now on my skin is dry woods, and it's a combination of woods, but if you want to describe it to somebody, I would say cedar wood comes closest. I think cedar wood is most prominent in this combination. And then there is also ambergris and the musk. So ambergris again does not come out in this composition as an individual note. It's more like orris. It's playing the part to just seam everything together. So the dry wood and the incense do not feel like the only notes, and it will not become too woody and masculine. Ambergris would kind of smoothen things out, like
a fixative.
like a fixative, or would say like putting a layer on to just so the things are not too stark. Like you can put a transparent layer on. And I'm being a visual person, I keep thinking of this as photography thing, like when sometimes the colors are looking too stark, you would kind of put a gentle gray overlay, so it like would make them a little softer,
like a bit of a filter, just to sort of
yes, like a filter,
yeah,
yes,
so just to dampen those colours out a little bit. So,
yes,
so we are telling the story of the Holi festival here. So we've gone on this journey of when you first arrive and all of the excitement and the running around and the colors exploding everywhere. And then we've moved into the, everybody's getting wet and, that sort of stage. Where are we at now in the Holi festival, and how does it sort of link to where we're at in the fragrance?
So it's more like end of the day where you are tired, you have washed away the colors, you are in need for some rest, because there was a celebration day before as well where we create this huge bonfires and go around them. So there is like a little bit of smoke lingering from that previous day, and you're just now seeking comfort after a fun-filled day. So the base is more like that, where it's just undemanding, slightly warm, more now you can just be you, rest, recover, read a book sort of scent.
Yeah, so the dry woods tend to have that sort of comforting,
calming
about it.
Yeah.
And that's what's really, sort of coming through. The incense, the smoke. This is the calm after the excitement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. What a journey through this fragrance. So obviously we are filming a few weeks out from when the episode is released and when the fragrance is released. So I'm not sure whether it's going to land at the same time as the rest, but what is the actual scheduled date for release at this stage?
Originally, it was meant to be 14th November, but I don't think we're going to make it. We're still waiting on some packaging components. Although the fragrance is ready, without packaging, we can't launch it. So either it will be pushed out till end of November, or it will have to wait till next year.
Okay. So if you're listening to this episode, it's early December when this episode drops. If the fragrance isn't out yet, it's coming. It's just going to be a 2026 early release. And this is some of the complexity with creating a fragrance is it's not just about the juice.
No.
It is about all of the other components that go into actually creating it. It's the bottle, it's the packaging, it's the logistics, and there are things that are quite complex to deal with within that supply chain. So,
100%.
but it is coming, and that's what's important here. It is coming,
yeah,
and it is unique. I've not seen another fragrance out there anywhere, and we've been exposed to a lot of fragrances at this stage.
Yeah, we have.
That celebrate that Holi festival. So it's beautiful and unique.
Lovely. Yeah, really love it.
It's coming with some new packaging details as well. Like we're changing the boxes to look more like book covers. Because they're stories, so they deserve book covers.
Fantastic.
Nice.
This is beautiful. So, I mean, thank you so much for taking us on this, the masterclass through the fragrance. I mean, we always feel very privileged when we get to, sit down with the brand founders and, get this extra level of insight. But to be exposed to a fragrance that's not even being released yet is a real privilege for us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I've just had an amazing time going on this journey with you and listening to everything, and I'm very excited for the release. I think I'm sure everybody, will love this fragrance. Now, is there anything else that's sort of on the horizon?
Like I said, there is one more collaboration project. There is another fragrance that I am personally working on, and there is another thing that I have in mind, which I eventually want to do with the brand, but not knowing whether it will be feasible, whether it will really happen someday or not. But there's this idea that Middle East, India, and those side of countries are known for attars. And then there are brands who will do attar products, and I cannot claim that I have smelled each and every one of them, but the ones that I have smelled more like just high concentration modern fragrances with oil base. So if I could ever get a chance, I would like to bring that traditional attar to the new era, where it's not just what it has always been, but it's also not taken away from its true form.
And when you say, is it attar?
Attar.
Can you just help us to tell us what exactly it is?
I'm not an expert, so I wouldn't know how to explain it better. Just know it from the experience that it's more oil-based product, and even the base oils are not always just like a carrier oil. Often they are like sandalwood oil And the way the fragrances are made are very different. It's what is it called? Where they put the steam through the product and collect the vapors.
I like the steam distillation.
Yes,
Yep.
but it's done in a very different manner using the old-fashioned large clay pots. And then there's people who have been working on this thing for generations and generations, and they kind of have this expertise which doesn't rely on thermometer or anything. They just know from their experience, like when to collect the flowers and how to process them. And the genuine attar is also very hard to find because it's made in like really, really small quantities. So what you find in most markets, and especially if it doesn't cost you a whole lot, it's most likely to be a synthetic attar. So the whole genuine, traditional, properly well-made attar is hard to find, hard to smell. Not hard to smell, I mean hard to
get
find so that you can
hands-on.
experience it.
Source
Yes.
the real-
Yeah. Well, I
Yes.
think that's I've heard of it, but I don't know that I've had the opportunity to smell it, as you say. Yeah.
I don't think I own any attar that's properly genuine. So I really want to just like go to those villages, understand properly how it's done. And I'm not sure if it's possible, but if I can, I would like to still keep those families and those artisans be involved in that process. Right now, it feels like a dream that's a decade away, to be honest, because it would require some scale and resources and understanding of how things are done. But that's like a one-day dream.
Well, I truly hope you do this because I actually watched a little documentary on the process of creating attars in India, and it was noted during that documentary that it is a bit of a dying art form.
It is.
Because of this synthetic and quick to market process. But some of these families, and it usually is a family, multi-generation family that are creating these things, they've been doing this for hundreds, possibly thousands of years. I mean, they're not necessarily keeping the records. And Indian culture is so ancient that it could have been going on for thousands of years. And if you can play a small part in keeping that alive, keeping that beautiful art form alive, I mean, I would love to see it, but noted that it's definitely very challenging.
Even the idea feels very daunting right now. But just putting it out there, like in case somebody hears it and says, like, you know what, I have some ideas to share.
Fantastic. And if you would like to collaborate, we highly encourage you to do so because we would all love to see this out there on the market, on the global market, just not on the Australian market as well. Now, earlier we touched on packaging, and obviously you said that you're going to do some sort of new packaging here, but your packaging feels quite deliberately sustainable. Is this part of your overall philosophy?
Yes, I believe that fast fashion is definitely not the way, and we want to like say with every bit of our product that this is about a slow life, leisure sort of thing. Mindfulness is something that you treat yourself to and enjoy. It's not about hoarding and just buying something because you can or it's trending. You do it because it speaks to you. So there is no glossiness. There is no indication to say that you need this. There's a FOMO. It's more like things are what they are, and you should first find yourself before you buy something.
Very intentional. Yeah.
And I love this, and I would agree with you. There is a lot of sort of fast fashion out there at the moment, a lot of throwaway culture. People aren't necessarily caring all that much about the environment, but we're becoming more and more conscious of this. And I think the era of the mindful consumer has dawned, and I think more and more people are being very deliberate about researching every aspect. Again, we were only listening to something last night around the fashion industry, is that the next major movement that is going to be happening here is that a real move away from fast fashion and people taking note of the specific materials that are being used because they care about what happens to it afterwards, but how it might interact with their skin and the chemicals that are being used and where it's being sourced from and Was there slave labor involved with the creation of those products? Was the environment poisoned? So I love the fact that you are so conscientious with your products.
I believe that perfume is not a necessity. It's a luxury product. So if you're gonna indulge in luxury, then, do it for the right reasons. Do it because it gives you joy and not because, it looked so shiny.
So not only are you environmentally conscious, but you also give back. So you support some charity. So what's the charity that you actually are involved with?
So we do support actually more than one charity, and it depends on what is happening in the world at that time. But there is this institution called Shanti Bhavan, which we like to support more continuously. I believe giving back is responsibility of every human being, no matter what your source of income is, whatever little you can, because we as human beings, we live in a society. We don't live by ourselves. So whatever you get, there is a contribution from the universe, the people around you in some way, whether you realize it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not. So it is only fair that you give back whenever you can. And particularly Shanti Bhavan is close to my heart because they support education for our girls from underprivileged backgrounds. It's like the suffering you have witnessed yourself, and if you can do something to make a difference, even if it's just a drop in the ocean, it's still worth it.
Yeah. If you don't move in that direction, no one's going to move in that direction. It's lovely to see. So Shanti Bhavan is the main charity that you support, but you also, and I did notice this on your website as well, that you do support a number of different charities, but that changes, it ebbs and flows depending on what's going on in the world.
Yeah. Very admirable. And, I think that's just another reason to support you.
Thank you. But this is why we don't put like $1 from every product or this will go, because it's not the reason I want people to buy from us. But initially I didn't even want to declare it on website, but then it felt like people who are buying from the brand might be interested in figuring out what are your ethos, where do you stand in terms of your social responsibility. So that is the only reason why it is there. I don't see it as an extraordinary thing. I feel that it is more like what everybody should be doing anywhere.
Yeah, I would say that you do handle this in a good way. So you're not using it as a marketing ploy. To even find this out, you have to dig in your website to find that you support charities.
You guys have done your homework.
We've done our homework, right? We do our research, and we just wanted to highlight it because it isn't quite so obvious that you're not using it as a marketing tool. And for people who might encounter your brand and might not be aware of it, we want to point it out because we do think it's...
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to contradict your point. I just wanted to kind of like make it clear that it's not there as an additional point for us, but it is more like those who care and want to know it, just that as information.
Yeah, I think it supports the whole, sustainability, being a mindful consumer, and if you can feel good also about purchasing that, knowing that some of it is giving back. And what you said before about every person can make a difference. Well, if everybody did a little bit, that whole idea.
True.
Absolutely. And what we have found through our journey, certainly through season 1 here of the Olfactive Melbourne podcast, is that Australian perfumers tend to be pretty humble people. And you are another example of a very humble person. And I guess somebody needs to point out that you're doing these wonderful things. And if you're not going to toot your own horn, we're going to toot it for you and let people know all of the wonderful work that you're doing.
We're very grateful for that.
Yeah, which I guess leads directly into where can consumers and people who want to know more about your product or purchase your product, where can they find you?
So currently our products are mainly available through our own website, PEOSYM.com.au. For the USA-based consumers, though, we would say that currently we are a bit reluctant on shipping to USA, not because of the shipping cost, but more of the whole tariff chaos. And it's more to protect our customers than anything else, because currently it's very random. The charges that they get is unpredictable, and if they do not pay those charges, what happens to product also becomes unpredictable. So it's just a whole lot of things that you cannot rely on. So for them, we would recommend buying from our 2 retail partners in the USA, Solvi Boutique and Yvette Sense. If you reach out to us, we're happy to email you the details. Maybe at some point we should put it on our website so that it's easier for them to find it. But yes, those are the places you can shop our products from. For all other countries, we can ship internationally.
Fantastic. And this has been a really challenging period for Australian perfume brands that are wanting to get their product into the hands of our cousins in America. And we love our American audience. We want to get these fantastic Aussie perfumes into your hands. We just need to get this tariff situation under control so that you can experience what we're experiencing here, because Australian perfumery is absolutely beautiful. The quality of what we're making here is absolutely extraordinary, and you shouldn't have to miss out just because a couple of politicians can't agree on how to move forward. I mean, we don't care necessarily about that level of politics, but it is absolutely impacting our ability to get these products into the Americans' hands. So for those people who may have missed it, we'll put PEOSYM's website onto the screen right now. So on the bottom of your screen, we'll have the website up so you can record that. Obviously, a lot of our audience listen through either Spotify or through Apple Podcasts. So for you, we will embed the PEOSYM website straight into the description. So you can go into the description there and just click the link. It'll take you straight to the website. What we've also got popping up on your screen right now is a QR code. Scan that QR code with your phone and it'll take you to our website, which is olfactive.com.au, where we'll have a full profile on PEOSYM and again, links back to the website. So multiple ways in which you can actually discover the PEOSYM brand. And of course, if you want to get your hands onto the fragrances, you don't necessarily want to commit to a full bottle first. We do have a wonderful discovery pack that has the 4 key fragrances that have currently been released.
Yeah. And soon there will be a new discovery set with all 5 fragrances.
Fantastic. As soon as we release the next one.
As soon as it is launched.
Fantastic. And we're looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Purvi, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience to talk to you. I feel like I know you quite well now. You're a very, very good storyteller, and it's been absolutely wonderful to experience the stories and the fragrances together.
It's been lovely chatting with you too. It's just so easy to talk to you guys, and this has been a wonderful experience.
It's been a lot of fun for us. And as Robin said, discovering your life as your perfumes have unfolded has been a real privilege for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And thank you to our listeners. Thank you for your time again today. We hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. And we hope that we will see you again soon for another episode of Olfactive Melbourne podcast, where you will meet a new perfumer and the fragrances behind their stories. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.